This week's episode is sponsored by the Running Algorithm, your one-stop solution for running coaching. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Talking Triathlon, a podcast where we talk about triathlon. I'm Tim Ford. I've got a lolly in my mouth, so it's a bit weird, but that's James Bell. Sorry about that. I was a bit unprepared, even though I hit record. And we're back. Jimbo, mate, how's it going?
Yeah, it's good, mate. It's good. Well, it's not been good. It's been rough, but I'm starting to feel good again. I woke up on Monday morning with just a mauling of like a 2.5 to 3 day cold experience, virus thing. And so I've been shivering and feeling sorry for myself for the last 2.5 days. I haven't done any training, which sucks. So hopefully today I might be able to get a run in, a gentle one, an easy one. How are you, man?
Jet lagged. Really, really jet lagged. But pushing through, forcing myself back to normality. I got back to Australia on Monday night. It is Thursday time recording, and I actually slept till 5 a.m. today, which was a win for me because yesterday it was 3:30. So yesterday was a pretty horrific day. But I have been training. Went for my first swim back today, which was surprisingly okay. To be honest, I was dreading it because it's like 2 weeks out of the water. But no, good trip away. It's funny, you go away for work and sometimes it can feel like quite a long trip. Like when I went to Europe for Challenge Roth, that felt like a long trip, even though it was just under 2 weeks. This was the same length, but it felt like it just flew by. So that's always I guess, a good sign. Very productive couple of weeks away. I got to spend some good time with my best friend, new best friend, Chris Froome. You know, me and him are obviously two peas in a pod now. So yeah, it's a good trip.
So, what was the high point of your European adventure? I mean,
There's Yeah, Nice was good, but again, I know people get the shits when I name drop, so I'm not going to bother. But there was some pretty impressive athletes at the gala that I was at over the weekend, so I got to spend a bit of time with some very impressive athletes. So yeah, that was a good time. You know, I really don't like to, like, I'm not that person to go up and ask for a photo with an athlete or, you know, ask for a signature or anything. But we had Usain Bolt there, and I actually got to spend a bit of time with Usain, and I couldn't help myself. I said, "Oh, mate, do you mind if I get a photo?" And I don't regret it at all because it's like fucking Usain Bolt. So
he looks much cooler than you in that picture.
he's much cooler than me, mate. There's no two ways about it. He's definitely a much cooler man than me. But I did get some good goss at the not goss. I get some insight at the dinner because there's a few we'll call them industry peers who were there. First one was Ronnie, who is Casper's manager, and we're talking about, you know, obviously his incredible race in Nice, and he was saying to him, Ronnie was telling me that in the lead up to it, Casper was saying to Ronnie, like, you know, Ronnie's like, "Oh, you know, what's your goal?" Casper's like, "I'm going to win this thing," and Ronnie's like, "They're like, yeah, that would be great, but, you know," and Casper was just like, "No, I'm going to win this thing," and I love that. I really, really appreciated hearing that because it sounds like, yeah, he just went in and sort of executed perfectly. And then the other one I spoke to was Richard Downey, who represents the Brownlee brothers and Alex Yee. And we were talking about something we'll talk a bit about later, which is Alex's marathon plans. And it was just really cool to, I guess, hear where Alex is at and what sort of is going on with him. So
yeah, I'm intrigued by that. I am intrigued by that when we get there. I have questions.
There's plenty to talk about this week. So without further ado, we'll get into it after. Oh, sorry, I have to say, if you want to get, I guess, more, we'll probably go into details about what I spoke about or what I heard and who I met at the gala on the next Patreon episode. So head to patreon.com/talking triathlon. Get bonus episodes, WhatsApp groups. Absolutely went off over the Nice weekend. To be honest, it actually kept me up to date a lot with what was happening over T100. We'll get to that as well. But yeah, really, really good, positive community, all things triathlon. So I like that space. Come join it. Jimbo, where should we get started?
I think we should start with a chat around Alex Yee and his plans to do the Valencia Marathon.
Let's do it. Alex Yee has announced he is going to race the Valencia Marathon later this year, and not just race the marathon, Jimbo. He wants to race it pretty fast.
He wants a 2:08, doesn't he?
Sub 2:09, I heard. So
Yeah, so 2:08 something.
yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I mean he went into London with a goal of, was it 2:10?
Mhm.
and he didn't quite get there, but he still did a hell of a marathon effort. I actually saw him on course that day. Man can run, and he's obviously got the bug. What I find interesting about this, I mean, it's really cool, and I love it. Go for it. I mean, if that's where his desire lies, then get after it. What I find interesting is how that mixes with the all hands on deck WTCS Olympic gold in the US pursuit, and whether he can balance those two things.
Do you think he wants to?
I got the impression he was all about the next Olympics. What do you think? Being the man with the knowledge now and the chat with his manager. Go on,
Again,
beans.
No, I don't know. I don't have any insider to that. Again, no matter how good of friends or good relationships I have with those, I think we all play our cards pretty close to our chests. No, we were talking mostly about what he's planning to do with the marathon, but I don't. There's sort of two types of athletes, right? You get the athletes who achieve the goal and that's enough, and they sort of lose, done it, don't need to do it again. And you have the athletes who want to do it again. I know I've said this before in other episodes, and people have pointed out the contradiction of what I'm saying, but I've never gotten the impression that Alex Yee. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't pursue the Olympics in LA, to be honest. Let's put it that way. I feel like if I wouldn't be surprised to see Alex Yee trying to qualify in the marathon for Team GB. I think that is something that, I mean, I'd love to see it. I would also love to see him go back and defend his title in the Olympics. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him pursue marathon running. I mean, look at what's happening in running. Just purely from a sponsorship point of view, the value of run contracts are so much higher than what they are in triathlon. You can understand it, and if he's able to run a 2:08, he's getting close to that sort of top end of marathon running. Yeah,
Close, but not there.
but you can still make a good.
Very.
You can still make a good living though. Like I think if you're a subject to marathon runner, there's still plenty of cash to be made. And you can still get some good results.
It's a very respectable marathon time, but it's not a winning marathon time.
Depends on the course, I suppose. Was a Sydney marathon?
Does
It was 2:06 in Sydney, and that's hilly, but it's only a 7 marathon as well.
It's hard. The closer you get to that winning time, the harder it gets.
What do you mean, mate? Surely it's just the same. Sure, there's no. It doesn't exponentially increase in difficulty, does it?
Yeah.
You've got more skin in the game, being British, and him being, obviously a British gold medalist. You guys have become quite used to having a Brit win the gold medal over the last 4 Olympics, 3 times it's happened. What would you like to see?
I mean, if he's got the bug for marathon running and he wants to see how far he can take it, I'd like to see that. But that's not me speaking on behalf of the British nation. Great.
He's dying, guys. Sorry.
Excuse me. That's not me speaking on behalf of Great Britain. That's just purely because I've got no particular interest in national medals, and I like to see a good race and a good performance.
That explains why you were so upset when he won in Paris, because obviously you got very upset when Alex Yee won the gold medal in Paris.
Yeah, well, my eggs were in a different basket that day. I'd like to see him pursue that whatever really piques his interest, because in my opinion, that's when you get the best performances out of somebody, is when they're following something they're truly passionate about. And if he's just going through the process to get an Olympic, go to the next Olympics, but his heart lies elsewhere, then we won't see the best out of him. It's like if he was actually pining for long course triathlon, which he doesn't appear to be, then yeah, it would be foolhardy to stick around for another Olympic cycle. And when in reality, we've seen athletes do that before, haven't we? Push themselves through an Olympic cycle when really they probably should have moved on a little earlier, and then not got that success that they probably deserved in the long course game.
Yeah, I would expect to see Alex Yee race in marathons over long course. I could see him going for another Olympic gold. Yeah, he's still young enough, but I don't see him. I can't see Alex Yee racing Ironman, for example. I would expect, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I literally have no insight over this, but I feel like we're going to see him move to running. Maybe he'll try and it won't work, and then he comes back. I'm not sure. Maybe similar to what Gwen did a couple of years ago, or maybe he makes the move. And I think the difference is when Gwen went, she never really, I don't know, like she's a great runner, right? But she wasn't breaking through the sort of results that you sort of expect. Whereas Alex, I think if he's running a 2:08, yeah, you're right. Okay, he's not the 2:02s or whatever, but that's still like fucking elite running. So I wouldn't. Yeah, I think we're probably going to see Yee switch his focus to running again. I have no insight. This is just gut feeling right now. I'd like to see it.
Do you think if he did focus on long course, he would find success? He maybe at the 70.3 of the T100 distance, he just seems too tiny and slight to be an Ironman champion.
Okay, I think that T100, no. I think what we're seeing the T100 distance is that 20-meter draft really, really, really makes a difference on the bike. If you're not bike strong, you're not there. Ironman and 70.3, that 12-meter makes a big difference, and I think it's a lot more achievable. You know, we forget it's not like he's a bad cyclist, right? Like he has done, from a couple of years ago, I thought he was a terrible cyclist. Like, he's pulling turns all the time. What he did against Vincent Louis in 2021 at the Olympics to secure that gold medal for Team GB was impeccable or impressive. I do also, though, think we'd probably see him struggle to, the swim's not as important, obviously, at long distance. The bike is very important. Whether he would have the bike there, I'm not sure, but his run is probably so much better than anybody else doing the sport. But again, we're talking like 5 minutes compared to what could potentially be 20 minutes on the bike. So I wouldn't,
I mean, how does the ability to run a 2:08 translate into the end of an Ironman? I mean, what do you think someone like Patrick Lang could run in a one-off marathon? Do you think he gets anywhere near that 2:08?
maybe.
I'd be more of 2:10, 2:12.
Yeah, I was going to say 2:12. Again, zero perspective. I'm not an expert in marathon running. It's just, again, gut feeling. I think another good sort of example, something we didn't talk about at the time.
I reckon most good Ironman athletes who are proper could run a 2:14, 2:15.
Well, Steve McKenna, who Australian pro, quite a good Australian pro, didn't really have that sort of global success, but he ran a 2:18 in Sydney a couple of weeks ago. And again, I think with the course, you're probably looking at, it's probably 2:16, maybe 2:15-ish on a flat course.
Yeah, I asked Andy a few weeks ago what he thought he could run as a standalone marathon, and 2:15 was his answer.
What's he race? Come on, Andy, you got to be running like 2:40s. I'm there first, mate.
Yeah.
I love you, Andy. No, I think that, back to the sort of Alex Yee thing, though, I feel like Alex Yee is similar to somebody like Cassandra Bergeron. I do not think we'll see Cassandra Bergeron race in long distance. And even if we did, I'm not sure that we'd see her have success, just because of, if you look at the style of athletes that do excel, it is I guess a burlier athlete. Both Alex Yee and Cassandra Bergeron are very, very tall and very thin. And I mean, Jan Frodeno did it. Jan Frodeno obviously been similar. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't see it, but I'd love to.
How tall is Alex Yee?
Couldn't tell you.
No.
I should. I've met him a few times. I think he's taller than me. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, okay. Because in my head, he's about my height, and he's not.
No, he's tall. He's. Why can't I remember? I can't remember. I have no memory.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously, to see him race another Olympics would be ideal, but in my opinion, the whole sporting ecosystem is better when someone's chasing something they truly want to chase. And if he's going to go after marathoning and he thinks he can do a really good job, then have at it, and let's see what he can do there. And it's an interesting story, and I like an interesting story.
Is there a universe that he does both in LA?
I mean, this is what intrigued me, really. He is only, at the moment, all we know is that he's doing Valencia Marathon this year. So there is of course a world where he just does that and then puts all his eggs back in the triathlon basket, and it doesn't make any difference whatsoever. So yes, of course there is. if we're living in this slightly hypothetical fantasy world that we've created where he's going to switch over to marathon running alongside focusing for the Olympics, then that's a very different conversation. And I would say the training required to do well enough to warrant running marathons alongside Olympic triathlon training, no, those two things aren't compatible.
I think it's a different conversation if he does them both, if he can do well at both. I feel like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, if he just fades into irrelevance in both, then yeah, of course, mate.
It's funny because if you look at British triathlon at the moment, I feel like you've got Yee, and then it's sort of a whole lot of not heaps in the men's at the moment. Ollie Conway, I think, has started to be very impressive at the Supertri, and he's very young. So I can see Ollie Conway becoming a bit of a future star for Team GB. But we saw Yee come back and win a Supertri race, so it's still I mean I could see him getting picked for both. I don't think he could do well at both. On another sort of just we're in this ballpark, and I think you can't talk about one without talking about the other. Hayden Wilde. Do you think Hayden Wilde will switch back to short course and go for the Olympics again? Or do you think he's going to continue his success and probably step up in distance, even and start doing Ironman? Like, what do you think for Hayden moving forward?
Oh, you know how I hate second guessing things, but second guessing things on a podcast is the name of the game, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to step up to Ironman. I think he is going to have another Olympic cycle.
I would like to see him step up to Ironman and stop with the Olympics, personally.
Interesting. Yeah, I have no knowledge.
We neither of us do. We're just speculating.
No,
we're just speculating.
What am I doing on a podcast? Speculation central. I don't think I think the reason he wants to win this T100 series so emphatically is because I think then the focus is going to switch back to another Olympic cycle.
He's 28, so he'll be 31, which is still an age I think you can definitely do well at the Olympics. I also think that the Christian Blumenfeld story is a bit of a cautionary tale for a lot of them, where Christian didn't have the Olympics that he wanted. I'm not surprised. Again, and Christian, we love you. I do think though that a lot of people are going to look at what you did and go, no, I'm not going to do that. If they're going to, I mean, do you think Christian's going to have a crack at another Olympics?
No.
Okay, let's move on now. The next thing we're going to talk about, James, is a race that happened over the weekend. T100. Where was it? Somewhere in Spain?
Spain.
T100 something?
T100 was Spain. And what was it called?
Oppressor?
Ompressa or something like that.
Valencia.
The race. That's when I know that it happened. They had to move it. Now look, I'm going to give them a fair amount of leeway.
Yep.
Because of the logistical changes that they had to go through to make this race happen. Firstly, I'm going to give them a huge amount of credit because the Valencia situation was out of their hands.
Yep.
There was industrial action in the port or something like that. And they had to cancel the race and then last minute find another location for the race. And I will give the T100 a huge amount of credit for getting that done, executing the race, allowing the pros to do what they do, and making it happen. And all of that said, it was still a fairly boring race.
I'm glad you said it, not me.
I did like the roundabout.
I didn't see it. I
liked the roundabout. I like the roundabout shot. I found the course fairly uninspiring. But I mean, what are we going to expect? Would we rather they cancelled the race, didn't have a race? They at the last minute had to find a location that could quickly host a triathlon race, and they found a place that could do it.
I don't think that, to be honest, I don't think that that's necessarily. But now I say I didn't. I was following this. I had challenges because I was in Europe and stuff, so I was definitely on my phone watching on YouTube as I could. In terms of the course itself being boring, I wouldn't say it's boring. I couldn't necessarily tell it apart from any other race we've seen. It was very much to me a T100 course. It was the barricades. It was on the road. It was yeah, it was just that's sort of what I expect. So I don't really have, again, I think well done for them for making this happen, because you're right. There was a lot of challenges they faced behind the scenes in facilitating an event. And I think they did a very good job of pivoting quite last minute and coming up with a really good solution. It was, within the, what was it, like 20K away or something like that. I think that what we're seeing here, again, if you want to talk about the actual race, was the just lack of support from the actual contracted athletes. That to me is the biggest letdown of this event. The fact that we had how many wildcard females, like 12 or 13 or something.
Any wildcard women.
That is something that we have been talking a lot about, the actual lackluster courses a little bit and stuff. I think, but this time I actually do want to focus. I feel like we do need to put the blame a little bit on the athletes, because the T100 is trying to create an ecosystem here where the sport moves forward and grows and becomes a good model that allows athletes to make a lot of money, which is something that we have spoken for literally years of doing this podcast about. And we saw this last year, we're seeing it again this year, but there's just not the buy-in from the athletes. And yeah, it's okay. You can, there's arguments for and against. The contracts allow them to, this, that, but this was particularly bad. And yeah, I just think that this was especially off the back of Nice, where Nice to me is one of the best triathlons I've seen. I think it's maybe the best Ironman World Championships I've ever seen. In hindsight now, the more I think about it,
I
the
think
more
I've landed there as well.
Yeah, I really can't get over just how incredible that race was. And to go from that to this is making the contrast seem more extreme.
The strange thing about Nice is that if you take normally, when one of us has seen a really good race, one of us has been there and one of us hasn't.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between whoever saw the broadcast and who saw it live. And sometimes there's a bias when you're there on the ground because you get wrapped up in it. But both of us are saying the same thing.
I've watched the highlights as well. Like to be honest, on the day I was watching a lot of the broadcasts in Nice as well, and I was really impressed. I still think the T100. I think getting Emma Snowsill now on commentary is brilliant. I think I'm a huge Emma Snowsill fan, as people will know anyway. She's fantastic. She's really, really, I actually think almost probably better than Jeanne in some ways, just because she gives such a different perspective. And I think that she works really well with Vicky in terms of the chemistry a bit as well. I just think that the race was, this is somewhere that we disagree on a little bit, I think, is that I don't like to see an athlete dominate because I find it boring. And you're quite happy to see that sort of masterclass.
I think that's an oversimplification of my.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm not trying to criticize. I will say that I think that a big takeaway from this race for me, I'm talking about the men's race first, is I feel like we've seen Hayden Wilde evolve as an athlete over even the last 12 months. Because I think back to Topor World Championships and even other races before that, where we've seen Hayden go out of T2, try to drop them as quickly as possible, and then fade towards the back end. That's how Yellow Gains beat him in Topor. This race, Hayden came, there was a bit of a gap, ran up to Yellow, and then didn't just go. He sat with Yellow for a little while and then made his move. And I think that shows that real, you can talk about athletes, the race experience and race intelligence and race IQ. To me, it showed an evolution in Hayden Wilde's racing. He had the potential to drop Yellow the second he caught up to him, to be honest, but he chose to not. And I thought that was very clever. And
yeah, I mean, before we get to that defining point in the race, yeah, I think you're right, but I think we'll get there. That's an ending piece, isn't it? You know what I feel sorry for this one?
Yeah, tell me, please. Yeah, please tell me.
I feel sorry for Rico.
Mate, he's
poor old fucking Rico.
He's having a crack though. Like it's
Oh no, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. But
doesn't look good though. Poor bugger.
Gets on the bike, works his way up, gets a penalty.
Yeah.
Works his way up, drops a chain on the only fucking little tiny hill on the whole course, struggles to get his chain back on, works his way up, makes it to the front of the race, and then obviously that's overcooked him and he finishes in 10th. I feel really sorry for him because he could have, obviously he was Magier from France, who was on off the front on the bike. Rico could have been part of that. They could have, if that hadn't happened to him, there would have been the opportunity for those two to escape together, maybe. So I feel really, really sorry for Rico.
I also feel really sorry for Cole Smith. Cole Smith just is not having a good year, and it feels like he's not had a good year for a couple of years now. He feels very unlucky to me. But yeah, I saw the penalty. I couldn't really understand. I saw him blowing up about it. I've not seen anything post about exactly what it was. I don't actually know why he DNF'd. Have you seen anything about what the actual reason was?
No, not really. No. So yeah, Rico, bad luck to him. Carl Smith, bad luck to him. Jonas Schomburg is really bringing it, I think.
So good.
Yeah, so good. I mean, the predictability of his, I hesitate to use the word, failures in WTCS was almost becoming
comical,
a running joke.
Is it? No, it was.
Come sprinting out.
Was that a pun, by the way?
Yeah, come sprinting out of T2 and then disappear down the race. But the way he's translated that form of racing, by luck or judgment, he might just have been, oh fuck, it works at this distance. Do you know what I mean? This is what I do. Weird. The way that's translated over to this form of racing is fantastic. His intensity and enthusiasm seems to really carry him through these races and finishing off on that podium. But what really disappointed me about this men's race was when I was in London watching, seeing how much faster Jelle was running than Hayden at the end of that race, and how his form was so fantastic, and how just how, what's the word? How aroused I was watching him run.
It's correct.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Like, he was chasing down Hayden, and then to see Hayden behind him at T2 run up to, sorry, not behind him, but run up to Jelle in the run. And I was thinking, right, we've got a race on our hands here. And I was kind of really hoping that Jelle was going to win this, because I thought in a run battle, Jelle's got him. And to see Hayden just pull away and win in that fashion, it was kind of disappointing to me, because it shows that the rest of the season might just be, I'm going to say the rest of the season, but we didn't get the run battle I was hoping for. I was hoping Jelle would make Hayden really chase him and really dig deep to get that win or to get second.
I completely agree. And this is the point where I was watching, and then I was like, same thing. I thought, shit, we got a race on here. And then how quickly I saw that gap blow out once he made the move. I was on my way to the airport, so I couldn't watch anyway. But I feel like what I was talking about earlier with that intelligence of Hayden, because you spoke about Mathis Magier and potentially Rico if he hadn't have had the problems to get to the front. I think Hayden Wilde has the ability to not just get to the front, but to drop those guys, or at least to pull them along. And that's what I'm thinking. We're seeing a very different approach to Hayden now, where he's like, I'm just going to back my run. I'm just going to ride in the pack with these guys. I'm going to get off and I'm going to drop them. And I think Jelle probably didn't necessarily realize, or I didn't see enough of the bike to see the dynamics between those guys anyway. But I was very disappointed to see how quickly it was just like kaboom, because the gap was nearly 2 minutes at the end, I think.
Yeah, because the point you made about me enjoying a dominating season, I think globally I do. When you take a step back and look at the season as a whole, and you appreciate what an athlete's brought to that season, if there has been an execution where you just think, oh fucking hell, that's cool, we're seeing a legend of our time do what they do best, then there's an appreciation for that. Like
Jan Frodeno 2019.
Yeah, or Schumacher in his pomp, where you're just like, that was his era.
Yep.
And he did what he did. But that doesn't mean race to race I'm sitting there going, yay, a domination again. I want to see a race. I want to see shoulder to shoulder action. I want to see different players and different moving parts. And unfortunately, that didn't feel like what we got, because despite the setup being there, and the setup being everything that happened to that point where Hayden pulled alongside Jelle Gaines, I was like, right, here we fucking go. And it just went, because Hayden just fucked off and won the race.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed by it. Let's talk about the women's race. Oh, do you have the...
Well, before we do, just say the standings overall, with the podium of Hayden Wilde, Jelle Gaines, Jonas Schomburg. Standings overall, Hayden leads the series on 140, ahead of Yella on 122, ahead of Rico on 93, ahead of Mika Newt on 93, shared score, but obviously Rico's ahead on results. And then, yeah, so that's the standings on the men's side.
Women's race.
Women's race. Now, I thought it was interesting. The swim started. 2 prongs on the swim. One got the head of the other. Ashley Gentle kind of got a march on everybody in the lead in the running into the swim. It's quite shallow, that water. They had to do a lot of that sort of fucking about run that they do for a while, and then they have to do this weird sort of porpoising, everybody calls it, porpoising thing. So there was a lot of buggering about at the start of the swim, but because of all that, Ash Gentle got a march on everybody, but that kind of march immediately disappeared because good swimmers came to the front. And that gap that Lucy, Jess Learmonth, Sarah Perez Sala and Kate Woff got was astounding, and it just kept growing.
It was. I mean, again, we're talking about very, very good swimmers. I just loved this race so much. No, you put those athletes together, and this also comes back to the point about the lack of real athlete support. There was a very big difference between the contracted athletes that showed up for this event and then the athletes that were brought in. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but there really was, I think, a big. I mean, you saw it in the overall results and the gaps. You know, this was not a. There was a two horse race sort of that wasn't even really that close in the end either. Yeah, they're 4 of the best swimmers in middle distance at the moment / long course.
Yeah, I was surprised though. I mean, obviously they are, but there was that second bunch did kind of cannibalize itself. There was a lot of you had this bunch on the right hand side that was forming into a spear and charging ahead, and then this other bunch cannibalized itself that was fighting to be at the front, and it all kind of, because there are call me biased, but I think Lizzie could have swum with that front group.
Yep.
You know, there were people in that second group that could have matched that pace, and because that second group kind of cannibalized itself at the start and lost a march, I think that first group was allowed to escape. So I think that gap was a little unrepresentative of some of the abilities in that second group. But yeah, they really did. And then out on the bike, my favorite thing about the bike was Jess Learmonth's response to her penalty. She's a lovely human being.
Wonderful.
But her inner gritty northerner came out when she was getting penalised, and it was remarkable. I loved her. I think she called it a joke, and wanting to see the evidence, and it's remarkable little demonstration of how not to fuck with a northerner.
The running algorithm is a brand new tool that gives you a training plan for everything from 5 kilometers to marathon. You know that your schedule can change, and if you have to skip a session or just end up running with a friend and doing some extra, the running algorithm will adapt and adjust your plan to keep you consistent. Head to therunningalgorithm.com and use the code TALKINTRIATHLON, all capitals, and you can use the running algorithm for free while they add lots of exciting new features over the next 3 months before you decide if you want to go on and pay later. I know that Spain has a bit of a reputation for officials not really officiating too much, and I wonder if they've sort of become aware of that reputation they've got, because it seemed to be very, 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 very heavily officiated. And I mean, Jess Learmonth getting a drafting penalty, come on, oh, fucking hell. I think
her point was that she was just taking a gel, someone went past her, and in that moment she got done for drafting, because I think, from what I can interpret from her amazing rant, was that she was taking a gel, someone goes past her, you can't really brake immediately when you're one-handed on the bars, because as we all know who ride bikes, if you try and brake with one hand, you're gonna spin your handlebars. And I think that was the moment she got popped for it, which triathlon is an evolving sport when it comes to issuing actually enforcing and issuing penalties. So you're going to get moments like that where things get caught up.
Well, we also know that they're going to start releasing the race ranger data after the races as well. And I still feel like it's great that we have this, and it's great that they use it as a visual sort of thing. But we spoke about it after Roth, where they said that it is not ever going to be used for appeals or, overturning decisions or anything like that. But we have the technology now. And from my understanding, from what James from Race Ranger said, every time that there's an athlete enters the draft thing, they actually get a GPS ping of where it is. So to be honest, it actually wouldn't be that difficult to check. But yeah, we're still not there yet. So maybe in the next couple of years, we'll see the ability for athletes to actually almost like get a VAR, we call it a VRF appeal, even mid-race, where you can say, no, I want this checked. And they can talk to a person sitting on a computer and go, actually, no, she wasn't in the draft zone for long enough. Boom, she keeps going. I don't think that's that far away, but I guess it does make things a little bit more frustrating now when it doesn't happen.
In order for that to be the case, you need videos everywhere, don't you? And we
do you think that, like, that's what I mean? If you've got the GPS location and the actual drafting information, do you need it? If that's what Race Ranger is specifically keeping?
It may be, but if we're talking like in Jess's situation where she said she had a gel in her hand and some woman passed her and therefore she couldn't escape the draft zone, whether that's an excuse, I don't know. But in order to investigate little nuances like that, you need video.
Put a camera on the official, right? Put a little GoPro on their head or something.
Little GoPro on their head, yeah. I don't want to live in a world where race results are decided retroactively, though. I don't want races to finish and then people to move around on the finishing.
That's why I'm saying live. I'm definitely saying during the race. I agree. I think it's, to be honest, that's the reason why they got rid of drafting in short course for the Olympics, because they didn't want that to happen. And I agree. Anyway, the run, 2-horse race.
Yeah, very much a 2-horse race with Lucy Charles-Barclay being just taking the win and being stronger than Kate Woff.
Incredible, right?
The run was really, really, really massive show of strength from Lucy Charles-Barclay. Real shame that Jess did get that penalty on the bike, because she rounded off that podium for a British 1, 2, 3, but she could have been in the mix had she not been penalised on the bike.
How does she run? Is that calf niggle resolved, or?
Yeah, apparently she's been doing a lot more running of late, so the calf niggle is back. I mean, her ability to run back into the race, having been penalised like that. Lucy ran a 104.02, Kate Woff ran a 106.01, and Jess ran a 106.59.
Okay.
So she's up there.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, 58 seconds behind second place. She is a good enough biker to have been in that mix and to even maybe have a bit of a lead. So it could have been an interesting finish.
Yeah, because if you're actually in that chase, you can always do something different too. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Jennifer ran a 103.32, running up through the field to finish fourth, which was very impressive.
Yeah. Well, let's give us the overall standings where we're at in the women's T100 at the moment.
Overall standings on the women's is Lucy Charles-Barclay in first place on 119, Kate Woff in second on 119. Obviously, Lucy's given the lead because of results on the road. Ashley Gentle's in third on 96, with Julie Darren in fourth on 96 as well. So 2 matching pairs at the front.
And then we got the next race is in October in Wollongong, the week after Hawaii, I believe. So
there you go. A lot of these athletes, will be. Do you think we're going to see a huge amount of wildcards in Wollongong as well? I assume so. No one's going to want to go to Wollongong, are they?
I saw a provisional start list for Regis, and I'm like, I don't believe that. Like, there's athletes who I know are racing Kona and stuff the week before I can't see going. So I think the Wollongong start list is going to be very different. It's a long way as well. I know that for like WTCS athletes, I think some of them are already in Australia, and we're like 3+ weeks out from it. So we'll see. Shall we talk about short course? Supertri happened over the weekend, and I was equally really pissed off about this race, and then also I quite liked the actual racing.
How easy is it for you to disassociate and just become a fan during the race?
No, not. I missed. So I was flying when the actual flight happened, and behind the scenes we had a number of athletes, a number of very high-profile athletes who were meant to race withdraw very late in the piece. So we had to really hustle to find replacements. And then one of our replacements got sick the morning of the race. We had to find another replacement, like literally hours before the race started. So I still thought we'd do pretty well, even with the provisional team that we had. But it was, from a Crown Racing point of view, an absolute disaster. I got off the plane, checked the result, and just was like, what has actually happened here? And but taking that away, the race in itself, I thought was actually really good. The women's race was probably a little bit similar to T100. Jeanne got ahead and just was ahead all day, like, from the last race. Jeanne was so strong. I'm not surprised. The men's race, however,
She's so good, though.
so
She's so fucking good. I mean, before we get into the actual specifics of each men's and women's race, I think I judge Super League by a standard that is unfair.
yeah,
And I judge them by a higher standard than I do the rest of the racing.
Yep.
Because
they're so good.
yeah, and I'm judging them to a standard where I'm like, I don't hold T100 to the same rigor. Because I watched this and I was like, I feel like they need to mix it up again. They can't just have swim, back, run, swim, back, run, swim, back, run every week, because I'm just like, I'm watching the same shit happen. Whereas you watch a T100 race, or you watch Ironman World Championship in Nice, or you watch any other triathlon, it's swim, bike, run. That's what it is. You don't have it. But with Supertri, I'm like, oh, they're not doing it. They're doing this. They just do this format all the time. And I feel they need to shake the dice sometimes, because when you do see an athlete repeat a formulaic way of winning like Jeanne Lehair has done, not that it's easy, not that she found it easy, it was very hard, I'm sure. When it's Supertri, it does make it like, oh, okay, we're just doing the same thing again, based on what they used to do, where it would be that changing of the formats would mix things up and make things happen.
The other great contradiction with Supertri compared to something like T100 as well is we've been very vocal, I think, talking about the fact that we sort of don't think the season-long narrative, the same roster of athletes, works so much with T100. Whereas this year with Supertri, again, I'm sure people aren't watching it as closely as I have, but there's no consistency. There's so many athletes that are coming in and out of races, apart from probably Jeanne Lehair and Georgia Taylor Brown. There's almost like no one else is doing all the races, same in the men's race. And I feel like that's actually to its detriment. I think the great thing with Supertri is that it is the same athletes, but things happen so differently where, again, I'm not trying to discredit a lot of the athletes, but similar to the T100 race, there's a huge gap between the top group of athletes in both the men's and women's race, and it's like the top short course athletes in the world and then up and comers. And that gap was just so obvious in both races, because the gaps in Supertri this time were diabolical, mate. I don't think we even had 10 finishes in was it the women's race, that 9 athletes actually finished with all the others getting eliminated. Like that's crazy. And so I do find that is also like a thing that I'm not enjoying as much about this, is just we're not seeing consistency, so you don't get to see the same battles happen.
Yeah, and you know, it's all well and good for a social media story having a local athlete step up and fill a spot, but it ain't the best in the world
At all.
you know.
Oh,
It ain't what we tune in to see.
the challenge has been just how close Supertri and WTCS are at the moment. Like there's too many. It's we had Carlavaro 2 weeks ago. We've got Waihai tomorrow. It's so difficult to actually try it. There's so many athletes that said, I'd love to have done Jersey, but I'm in China, or like it's been very challenging this year, and it has to be resolved next year, because Supertri missed so many of those athletes you want to see race it. I know they're aware of this. I've had the conversations with them, but it has certainly made my job extremely difficult. Like, basically every single round we've been battling to try to find athletes to fill the spots, right? And, looking at Toulouse, which is in a week and a half now, not jumping ahead, but Charles Piquet can't race because he's had a concussion. So there's an athlete I have to find. It's just, as I sort of said, we've lost that female. I'm not sure if some of the other athletes who we've actually paid or given a contract to are even going to race anymore. It has just been so much work, and it's very frustrating to see that. I mean, what can you expect when you're literally hustling to try to find athletes up until a couple of days before the race? This is what I'm not surprised to see. I mean, look, there's a lot of bad luck.
No, absolutely. I mean, I can completely understand why these things happen.
Yeah.
I'm just
Even
like, well,
yeah.
it's a shame it has to happen.
I think that you talked about removing the hat. I think the men's race in Supertri this weekend was genuinely excellent. I watched them both yesterday. I wanted to watch when I was on the bike trainer, and I also wanted to have a bit of distance because I was a bit unhappy after I found out the result. So I thought I'd give myself a couple of days. So I sat on the bike trainer yesterday, watched both races. The women's race I did find quite frustrating. The men's race, however, I genuinely think was quite a good race. Not necessarily a close race. The gaps were crazy again, but the way the race unfolded in the men's race truly was good. So let's talk about the women's race. Let's just sort of brush through it, and then we'll focus a bit more on the men's race because the women's race was just sort of like by the final race, it was a 3-horse race, to be honest. And the gaps didn't really change much. It was sort of the order that they finished in was sort of pretty much decided.
Yeah, it was 3 very impressive athletes basically having a race at the front between themselves with a fairly clear indication throughout that it was Jeanne Lehair who was going to win it based on past performance, but also performance in the moment and performance
Every run,
today.
every run, she just went bye bye.
Yeah, exactly. You're watching her, you're going, well, she's going to do what she's done previously. Remarkable. I mean, she is an amazing athlete. Watching her go up through the gears and achieve this level of success is awesome. And I particularly love that she races for Luxembourg and not France. I'm really interested to see her journey to the next Olympics because I would love to see her round off this momentum with a really solid swing at a medal in the Olympic race.
T100 contract.
Yeah, good on her. What a performance. Obviously, Georgia Taylor-Brown in third with Leanne Perreault in second. Yeah, 3 amazing athletes doing amazing things. Really
Talk about
faster than I could ever imagine. Good work.
I think the big takeaway for me just watching Georgia's performance, because I'm very surprised at how good her run is a little off where I think it should be. But the thing that I think Georgia's dropped the most is transitions. If you look at the way the race unfolds, she was getting gapped every transition, and that's like such a that's something it's like one of those technical skills you do sort of lose from a lack of race. And yes, she's done a fair few races now, but I don't think it's as important at T100. She's only done what 1 or 2, maybe 1 WTCS race where it is so important. And I think that's the thing I'm really seeing with George's performances is her swim is okay. It's not great, but it's okay. Bike is as good as ever. Her run is getting there, but the transitions are what there was a few times she came into transition first, but would come out third or fourth because she was just losing so much time in transition.
Yeah, absolutely. It did look that way. It's been so long since I've done a triathlon. I can't imagine how long a transition would take me.
If you're sitting down, you get out your
Armchair.
a cup of tea.
Yeah.
The men's race now. So, do you want to go through the standings? Do you have that stuff in front of you, or?
Yeah. So the final standings were Jeanne Lehair, followed by Leanne Perreault and Georgia Taylor-Brown. I don't have the overall standings in front of me. But if we talk about the men's race, I'll make sure it's there so I can do a summary at the end.
I think though, just it's what's her name? Jeanne has got perfect score because it's the top 2 results plus the grand final, so she's got 30 points. And I think it's Georgia in second, or maybe Leon is anyway. Men's race. Let's talk about it now. Similarly to the women's race, it did come down to a three-man race in the end between Csongor Lehmann, Vasco Vilaça, and who was third? I cannot remember off the top of my head. It was race for Brownlee race in Oliver Conway, young Oliver Conway, who again, I think we're going to see big things from in the future. Mark my words. Also because his manager always tells me how good he's going. Good old Tom. But the dynamic or the reason this race to me was so good, and there was crashes. Firstly, there was a few, Johnny Brownlee went down. Charles Barclay crashed and didn't get up. Has had a concussion. As I said, he'll be missing Toulouse as a result of that. I've spoken with Charles after the race. He's okay, but it was pretty concerning to see that. The course was a bit gnarly.
Those are always worrying, no matter how minor.
Yeah, but what became so great about the way this race ended, Taylor Reid also crashed, and Taylor was right in the mix. I really, really like Taylor Reid. So I was disappointed to see him go down because I thought he could have had a good result. Tellery's an athlete that sort of flies under the radar, and then he's so talented. Another guy that I'm looking for, I'd love to see Taylor Reid step up and do Ironman. Looking at his build, how tall he is, his swim power, his bike power, and I think he could be a really good Ironman athlete. But so the reason this race was so good is on the final leg, once the short shoots had all gone, you had Vasco Vilaça had a short shoot, Csongor Lehmann had a short shoot, Oliver Conway didn't have a short shoot. So you look at, and the way Vasco was going, you think it's game, set, match. Vasco's got this. Coming out of the water at the end of the third race, getting ready for the bike, Vasco's goggles went in the box, bounced out. So Vasco suddenly gets a 5-second penalty for gear outside the box in the final leg of the triathlon. So suddenly you got these three guys racing together. Two of them have a short shoot. Vasco with the short shoot also has this penalty. And you could see on the last run, Vasco sort of trying to, even on the bike, trying to gap them, knowing he's going to have to stop for 5 seconds. And in the end, it didn't really matter because Csongor Lehmann put a bit of a surge on Vasco that just before he was going to the penalty box. Vasco goes to the penalty box. Oliver Conway goes around. Vasco ran down Oliver Conway, but just couldn't bridge the gap to Csongor Lehmann. And I think they've reversed the course from last year. So you actually run down the hill to finish, not up the hill to leave to transition. Csongor Lehmann's a much bigger guy than Vasco, so I think gravity helped a bit as well. But I really did think that race setup was quite cool. Like you talk about the drama of Super League. I think back to 2019 when Vincent Louis got the flat tire and did the whole race with a puncture, because he was trying to win the thing. It was quite dramatic, right? Like there was a lot of stuff happening.
No, I mean, yeah, I have always been an proponent of the short shoot. I love it, and and this is exactly what it's here for. It's here to create these dynamics, because it's not a random thing where you're just like, oh, we'll give you a short shoot, you win. You tactically earn it throughout the race in order to deploy it later on. And I really enjoy it when it contributes in this way to make an exciting dynamic and make people think in a highly stressful and intense moment of exercise. You're going really hard. You still have to think tactically and use your brain and think, right, well, he's got a penalty, he's got a short shoot. If I put a surge in here, I need a bit of time, etc., etc. And I think that is exciting.
Yeah. So the race ended up Csongor Lehmann won, Vasco ran himself in a second, Ollie Conway in third place. Yeah, it was good. Like I said, Charles Paquette, DNF, he was in, I think, 6th or 7th when he went down. Roberto Sanchez, who raced for us, also slipped over on the dismount line. So he was running his transition at the head of a group, slipped over carrying his bike, went down. That sort of cost him, but did really well, really gutsy performance from him to run himself back into the race. And then I think, a lot of the guys got eliminated. The gaps just were crazy. Good to see Supertri back in Jersey. I actually feel like Supertri and Jersey are quite linked. Like it did feel like a bit of a homecoming,
isn't it? I know that's an overused term on their social media, but it is. I think Supertri and Jersey. I think there should always be a race in Jersey for Supertri.
I agree.
I know there's a lot of politics behind the scenes. I have quite deep links with the politics of Jersey, so I understand the behind the scenes on that side. So yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a question mark, but yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it was a good race. But do you have the standings and everything?
Yeah, on the men's side, Csongor Lehmann, with his win here, has taken the lead in the series on 29 points, ahead of Alberto Gonzalez Garcia on 27, ahead of Vasco Vilaça also on 27. On the women's side, we've got Jeanne Lehair is leading on 30 points, ahead of Leonie Perriot on 28 and Georgia Taylor-Brown on 27. And on the teams,
Podium, Crown, Stars and Stripes, Brownlee, I think.
Yeah, on the teams, Podium is leading on 263, ahead of Crown on 225, ahead of Brownlee on 190. I mean, you're still in the mix. Stars and Stripes are on 168, so we can forget that exists for a minute.
Yeah, it's 1.5 points or 1.5 points in the grand final. Where we'll see who races for us. I think that's going to make a big difference. I know that speaking to MG, he wants to make some drastic changes. Whether he'll be able to, I don't know, because the race is so soon. Yeah, it's not been a fun week. I've had a lot of long conversations with MG about this, and the reality is I'm not sure what we can do at this point. We just have to hope that some athletes find a bit of better form, and then some athletes actually come and do the races that they've agreed to do. That would be nice. It'll be good to get back to Toulouse. I really like that race. It's a good spot for a race. I think it's one of the best, probably the best course in short course at the moment. So,
And a very solid post-race sausage as well.
you know all about that, mate. Only because you've been to Toulouse, right?
I have been to Toulouse, yeah, and I do enjoy a Toulouse sausage.
I've had a Toulouse sausage, not in Toulouse though.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Only a few last things to touch on this week. The first one is the Pro Series 2026 schedule has been released, and I thought we'd go through it because there have been a few changes. I like the changes, so I'm just taking a note of the time codes. So, Jimbo, have you had a chance to see the series next year?
I am not, mate. Take me through it.
Oh, get ready, mate. So, hang on. That's not what I meant to do. The series starts on March 7th next year at the Ansco Foods Ironman New Zealand. I think that's such a great place to start the series. After that, we go Ironman 70.3 Geelong in Australia. Then we go to Athletic Brewing. I'm not going to do the sponsors. Ironman 70.3 Oceanside, Ironman Texas, Ironman 70.3 Aix-en-Provence, Hamburg European Championships for women, 70.3 Pennsylvania, Happy Valley North, Happy Valley in America. Then we've got 70.3 Elsinore in Denmark. Then we have Frankfurt, Ironman. Then we have 70.3 Swansea back on the list.
Oh,
Ironman Lake
glad
Placid.
to hear it. Swansea delivered, mate, and I want to see more of it.
I'd love to see the actual Ironman on the list. 70.3 Boise, Ironman Kalmar is a new addition. Then we have ZLMC again, 70.3 World Championships in Nice next year. And then obviously both men and women racing in Ironman World Championships in Kailua Kona, October 2010 to wrap up the season next year. So it is a different start. It starts earlier in New Zealand. I think that's such a great place to start. And I was talking with the guys at Ironman. The only downside is, unfortunately, that means that Cairns won't be on the Pro Series next year because you can't have two races in the same region, apparently. But I think it's a good list.
I love it. I love that Swansea's on there. I think Elsinore's a good addition. We're a fickle bunch, though, aren't we? What a difficult bunch of arseholes we are to make happy, because last year we'd have been having this conversation and both of us would have been like, oh, fucking hell, we're still going to Nice for the Ironman World Championships, fucking hell. Then I hear you read off both men and women racing in Kona, and I'm like, oh, fucking hell, we're both racing in Kona. Nice was so good. Like, I can't imagine trying to service this fucking bunch of arseholes that we are.
Mate, yeah, yes. I mean, we get the messages sometimes. I understand how I am also one of them. So I know that was the thing, right? I was in Nice, that Nice roller coaster for me, because I was so happy when they announced the change. And then, we copped the shit because people are like, it's purist, blah, blah, blah. And then I also had to go, I didn't really enjoy this as much as I wanted. I kind of think we need to go back to Hawaii. And now I'm like, we've made a huge mistake. It just, it's just like, I can't make up my mind.
Yeah. And it just goes to show that it's the quality of the race that steers our opinion. And Nice really did provide a very high quality race. I would be interested, as an experiment, which you could never do, be interested to take all those athletes in exactly the same form and rerun that race in Kona as an academic exercise and just see whether it would be as exciting.
Surely that's an AI thing we can do now. Surely there's some way where you can get all their information off their Garmin files and you can put it into the course profile or my Windsock or whatever it is. And you could do some sort of AI generated. Maybe somebody's done that. I feel like, to be honest, what I would say is we've seen some very big gaps in Nice and some less than incredible races. Whereas I feel like Kona is pretty consistently good, to be honest. Like, we often see a good race in Kona. I do think, and I touched on this last week, I do think that they need to change the run course in Kona. I just think that lap thing in Nice this year was so good. And I understand it gets crowded at the back end. It's going to be even worse with men and women racing. But I feel like Ali'i Drive is so good in Hawaii for people who have not been there. I mean, people who've been there will know what I'm talking about. It's so good to spectate along Ali'i Drive. And I feel like we should put more of the race in there. But I also know that there are purists who want to go to the Energy Lab, things like that. But I'm sure Kona will be good. It's again, maybe I'm going to learn my lesson and say, no, let's just see what happens. Let's just see what happens before I start criticizing. I'm so excited about Kona this year. The women's race is, the start list is out. We were going to talk about it, but we're doing pretty well for time. So I think we'll go through that next week. The race is getting really close. I've seen athletes are starting to arrive there. It's funny because I am much more excited about the women's world championships this year than I was about the men's. But the men's race is possibly the best Ironman World Champs I've ever seen. So what could the women's race be? I feel like we could see something very similar.
I'm also very excited for the 70.3 worlds to follow as well.
This is so good.
I'm actually planning on going out there for that weekend. And so if anybody's out there and wants to hit me up, feel free.
Do you fancy doing it? Maybe we should start another petition to get you a wild card.
Wild card?
I know how much you like them. I know how much you like wild cards, James.
Yeah. Though that's never going to happen. Also,
no, can I request something instead? If you're going to, legitimately, I would like you to do this for me. And I'm not even going to try to make you wear a silly tri-suit for this. Can you take your bike and ride a lap of the course? Please.
I'm not sure I can take a bike. It makes the trip so expensive.
Listeners, if you're listening,
coast of it.
Can somebody help us facilitate a bike for James Bale in Marbella, just so we can get him to ride a lap of the course? Because I really want to get your opinion on that. Like, it's a tough course.
Yeah, I'd quite like to, when I'm out there, just create capture some content for the podcast anyway. You know, some in the moment stuff.
Can we set a camera on your handlebar, just film you going up the climb? It's just going, fuck this.
Hey, you motherfucker, I can ride a bike.
I know you can, but it's 1,800 meters in 90 kilometers, mate. It's a fuck ton of climbing.
I'm from Devon. Jesus, just because you'd cry over that distance. I'm
1,800 meters of warm up. That's a regular Saturday ride for me, right? What are you talking about? That's zone 2.
Zone 2. Love it.
No, that's exciting to hear. I would love to be there. I cannot face another trip to Europe this year. I'm Europed out. I will not be back in Europe until April or March next year. It's too far, mate. But thank you to you and Andy for picking up the slack for me last week. I appreciate it. It was good to jump on. I was very happy to have that to make the back end of that episode, and we received a lot of positive feedback. So that was great too.
I downloaded a load of stuff before you jumped on. I'd done a lot of talking. Then you appeared, and I just got to sit back and let you and Andy sort of vibe off each other for a little bit. So I quite enjoyed the break.
It's the first time I've actually recorded with Andy. I know he's done a lot of episodes with you, but that was the first time we've been on together. So that was a good time. I'm a big Andy Horsfall Turner fan, to be honest. Actually, Andy, if you're listening, I'd like to make it a bit more of a regular thing, mate, to be honest, because I think you're very, very good. So, yeah. Anyway, Jimbo, mate, we're done. If people want to find out more about this podcast, about us, where do they need to go?
If you want to support the show, jump on at patreon.com/talking triathlon. If you want to follow Tim, he's at T100 on Instagram. I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram. We are on Instagram as at Talking Triathlon. And if you join the Patreon group, you get access to the monthly bonus episode. It's a social group, and we put you, if you want to be in the WhatsApp group, you can. The WhatsApp group sustains me with its positivity, which is nice. But if you're not in the Patreon group and you want to get in touch or leave a comment, then the best place you can do that is on YouTube video, which will be out the same time as the podcast. And we will reply, I'm quite sure. And if you're also there, let me know.
I'd also just like to give a little bit of a special shout out to somebody who only listens. It's one of the guys that I coach, Sebastian Collard, did his 70.3 debut at Western Sydney over the weekend, went 4:48 on debut, which I think is pretty bloody good for your first 70.3. Seb was swimming like 150 pace 4 months ago, and we got him down to 130 pace. So that's
not really fucking about, is it, on debut? Good work.
Nah, he did really, really well. So Seb, mate, congratulations. Very, very proud. I think you did exceptionally, and not too long till we have you under 4:30. So I just wanted to give him a bit of love. Weirdly, you want to talk about, just Sebastian knows the story, but I got served an Instagram post for Sebastian where he did the relay at Western Sydney last year, and I think if I see people who I know, sort of, I'll get in touch about maybe going for a bike ride or something. And we started chatting, and I thought there's something familiar about, like, I couldn't work out what was familiar, and I realized it was his last name, because my cousin's last name is Collard. It's her married name. He's married to my cousin.
Oh, well, there you
Yeah.
go.
So it was just like crazy small world. So
You not attend that wedding?
no, I did not. Second cousins. So not like first cousins, second cousins, but
Okay.
I still thought it was like just a crazy small, like crazy coincidence that it worked out. That it worked out the way. So
The world. And, I mean, isn't everyone in Australia a cousin of some sort?
mate, that's New Zealand. So get your countries. All right, Jimbo. We'll leave it there, mate. All that stuff, guys. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next week.
Cheerio.